What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube, and today I've got another edition of The Drive-In, where I talk to you guys about recent movies still in theaters that just came out, and give you guys my honest feedback of these potentially modern classics. Today I'm talking about one that is a remake of one that I grew up on. Now, you guys know my stances on remakes. I would rather see fresh ideas, new titles, even brand new sequels or spin-offs of the old movies if you want to make money on the name, or if you want to advance the characters, much like Dr. Sleep is doing for The Shining. But in this case, recently some remakes have been doing pretty well, so I wanted to see this one. It is Pet Sematary 2019 here on The Drive-In. Now, I love this original movie. I didn't want to see this one touched. When I heard it was coming out, I was nervous because, like, I could understand with It, another Stephen King adaptation, that one was kind of based on a comedy. It was much more comedically, like, lightly toned. It was a made-for-TV kind of movie. So acting and tone and formatting and the visceral fear and the individuality of the characters could all be improved upon for It. So I could see why that one was being remade. This one, I love the original Pet Sematary. I think it's cast so perfectly. I love Herman Munster playing Judd. I love Gage Creed's character, the kid from Full House, and Nightmare on Elm Street, New Nightmare. I just love the original cast and the way it's played, and it's a little cheesy, but it's such a good movie, and I grew up on it. It's so influential to me, so I was nervous about seeing this one, but it is in theaters now, and I gotta tell you, I was pretty impressed with it. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I didn't want to like it. I didn't think I was going to like it. But for coming in pretty closed-minded this time, I actually really quite enjoyed this. It is directed by Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer, who also are responsible for Starry Eyes. If you guys have not seen Starry Eyes, it is a kind of a cult favorite, unknown horror movie that recently popped up on, I think, Netflix or Shudder. Go check that one out. If you guys have not seen Starry Eyes, Kolsch and Widmeyer directed that one as well. And that is a phenomenal, awesome story. Written by Jeff Bueller. Jeff Bueller is also responsible for an ABC's of Death segment. He wrote Midnight Meat Train. He wrote The Pledge, which is also a 2019 horror film that I have not seen yet but heard good things about. He also wrote the remake for The Grudge, which is coming in 2020, and the remake for Jacob's Ladder, coming in 2019. So he's got his hands all over a lot of horror films, especially remakes of classics that are coming out in the next year or two. So very interesting there. This is starring Jason Clarke, Amy Seimetz, John Lithgow, and Jete Lawrence. I hope I didn't butcher her name. This was a pretty fun movie. I'm going to give you guys my spoiler-free thoughts first, and then at the end of the video I will give you guys the spoiler section, so if you haven't seen it, you can turn this off when that part comes up. All in all, I really enjoyed this. First of all, the cinematography was beautiful. It was shot very nicely. It was well color graded. I really enjoyed some of the longer shots. They did some cool camera stuff where they had a couple shots go longer. They tracked some of the demon stuff, the killer stuff, the dream sequences. I liked how that stuff was tracked with the camera. I loved the location. One of the shining points in the original Pet Sematary is the cool location, and this one is just as cool, if not cooler. The use of the fog is really nice. The gravestones, all the crosses, the tree branches, gives you that kind of dirty fall feel. It kind of gives you that October-y feel, and they set this in part in October because there is a Halloween trick-or-treating scene in this movie that's not in the original, and I really enjoyed that kind of dark fall feel. It really sets the tone, and a lot of action takes place in this Pet Sematary, so the location was super important, and the house had that secluded feel that I like in horror movies that kind of ratchets up the tension a little bit, so I really enjoyed that. Excuse me. The acting, for the most part, also very solid. Again, I love the original cast, so it's hard to say one over the other. I think John Lithgow was solid as Judd Crandall. Maybe not as quite as good as the original. I am very partial to Fred Gwynne playing him, but of course Fred Gwynne, I think, passed away. Jason Clarke, very solid as Lewis, the main character. Did a nice job with him. Had a little more depth and kind of was taken a little more seriously than the original actor. Amy Seimetz did a very nice job. She played the wife. I didn't care for the wife character. She was the one character in the original that I didn't like. I liked her here. I think she did a nice job. Jete Lawrence was the star of the show here. She was the creepy little girl. She had a lot of things going on. I'll get to that in the spoiler section. But she was the star of this movie, and she carried this thing acting-wise. She was phenomenal. She must have been 10 years old and did quite a great job. For those of you unfamiliar with the original or the plot of this movie, a doctor and his family move out of a big town into a smaller city in Maine, Stephen King's universe, and their pet dies, and they go to a pet cemetery where kids bury their pets to try to resurrect him because there is some sour ground, some Indian burial ground where they can raise the dead. So they try to raise their pet, some things ensue, and they try and raise other things where there's a murderous chaos ensuing afterwards. So I don't know how much more I can say about this without spoiling anything. I will just say the choices they made to switch up, the stuff they chose to change, I actually quite liked. I don't like my stories being changed. I don't like the originals being messed with, but I think the changes here were smart. The ending was smarter. The casting change choice was smarter. They used a lot more visuals. They used the fear. If you guys saw the original, they used the fear of Amy Seimet's character, Rachel, being afraid of her sick sister and having to watch her sister die in flashbacks. They used that a lot more. They used the burial ground a lot more to show some dream sequences, to have more jump scares, more fear, more tension. They used individual fears, and the burial ground preyed on the fears of the characters much more in this one than they did in the original. So, again, much nicer camera work and much more visceral scares and more psychology into the story, which I quite enjoyed. I'm going to get into some spoilers now, just to talk about this a little easier. So if you guys have not seen Pet Sematary, I highly recommend it, and I am a very skeptical, huge fan of the original, so I wasn't expecting to like this at all. I liked it a lot. If you guys want to pause this video and go watch it, come back once you've seen it. But here are the spoilers, so if you have not seen it yet, don't watch on. Spoiler-wise, the biggest change of this movie, they gave away in the trailer, and that's one of my major beefs with this movie. They gave it away in the trailer. Instead of killing Gage with the semi-truck, they decided to kill the daughter Ellie instead. The father runs and rescues Gage, pulls him out of the way of the truck, and Ellie gets hit instead. If they would have done that in the theaters without giving it away, it would have been a huge shock to the audiences and would have really surprised the fans of the original. They spoiled that in the trailer, and that's a bummer. I love the kids' procession. They had the kids going up to bury their animals in Pet Sematary with these masks on, bunny masks, sheep masks. The costuming for the kids was cool, was creepy. They used the bunny mask a lot in this movie. Really creepy, nice little added touch. After killing, they gave a lot more life to the people that have died. So Church came back and found his way home and kind of started off being nice, and the longer he existed as a dead cat in the real world, he started getting more and more angry and evil, and that's the same thing they did with Ellie. She came back kind of knowing she was dead and wondering where she was, and as the story progressed, she got evil, more and more evil, more and more dark, more and more violent, and that's when the killings started to come out. They gave a lot more character to the people that are dead instead of just like little creepy laughs and stuff. They let Ellie talk a lot. She was talking about how the father was selfish in burying her, and she made her suffer, and she made her soul kind of go beyond heaven and go to hell. They referenced a lot of heaven and hell in this. There was some religious connotation, but it wasn't overdone. It was done just enough. They had Ellie, the character, really come to life and talk about how she wants everyone else to suffer like she had. She wants the mother to join her in the negative afterlife. Really nice, good character moments, well-written dialogue for the little girl. And again, her acting, playing Ellie, Jete Lawrence, delivered big time. Creepy, good storytelling, good facials, maturity. I really enjoyed her acting above all else in this film. The one choice that I didn't like was when when Lewis went to go resurrect his dead daughter. He poisoned John Lithgow. He poisoned Judd Crandall instead of just going up there. I don't know why you would kind of knock out, kind of give some roofie, so to speak, give some poison to the neighbor. I didn't like that choice at all. Also, my friend brought up the fact that whenever Ellie was hit, there was no blood on her whatsoever. They didn't show any kind of blood or any kind of effect, and that was a very strange choice. But they did use good effects later on. The face of Pascal was done very well. Great gore there. The foot kill was done very well, where they hacked the back of Judd's foot. That was nasty. The tension and the stalking of the little girl was great. When Amy Seimet's character, Rachel, She gets stabbed in the back, and then Jete Lawrence twists the knife to emulate the Rachel seeing her sister die and having her spine twisted, so it played in that fear. And then at the end of the movie, to give the ending away here, instead of just the original dumb ending, which was one of the worst parts of the original movie, where after Lewis buries the cat and it comes back evil, he buries the son and he comes back evil, and then he goes and buries the wife and she comes back evil and kills him. So what a stupid character affectation. In this movie, Lewis goes to kill the daughter, Ellie, and Rachel, now being dead, saves her, and they all come back together at the very end. Rachel, Lewis, Ellie, and Church all come back evil and come after the only survivor, which is the 3-year-old little boy, Gage, left in the car, watching this evil demonic family come at him and not even realizing they're all dead. So it's a creepy, haunting, scary ending that leaves you up in the air in a positive way. So much smarter character choices, good use of gore, much better character development, more psychological scares, and a much better ending overall. All in all, it's hard to compare this one to the original. The original still has some charm and more powerful casting overall, and just kind of tells that original story, that Stephen King adaptation of a small town that you can't improve on. But this one managed to improve, again, in solid score, good camera work, good environment, good acting, and some pretty wise choices that did not bother me. A couple little continuity errors, couple little gaffes, not perfect, but overall, I'm not going to compare this one to the original, but I will say this one for me is a 7.5 out of 10, which is far, far higher than I expected. This is in my top 5 so far of horror films in 2019. Go check this one out, guys, if you get a chance. If you've seen it, let me know in the comments below what you thought. Did you like this one better, or did you like the original better? And what did you think of the choices and changes they made? Tell me in the comments below, guys. And until next time, I will see y'all at the drive-in. Take care.